Disappointed. I'm disappointed in you, Judge. Alrighty, guys. Let's keep going. We're almost there. We are almost done with this game. I was not expecting this game to take so long. But what an experience. What a journey this has been. Playing through this first Ace Attorney game for the very first time. You know, if I beat this, this is going to be my first Ace Attorney game that I ever finished. I never finished that Miles Edgeworth game. Sorry, Edgeworth, I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours. Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, I guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run around while you... I take it Lana's having you run errands again. She asked me to give this to you if there was a break in today's trial. Evidence law? No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. The chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message. A message? She said if you're planning to take him on, you're going to need this book. Him. I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. Doesn't look like that book will do any good now, though. All that's left now is the chief prosecutor's sentence. That's where you're wrong, detective. Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat? Despite all these allegations being thrown at me? The real trial today hasn't begun yet. What? What else is there left to do? Your credibility's been all but ruined with this forged evidence you were unaware of. Emma Skye found out she unwittingly caused a man's death, and now you're telling me you want to do more? You gotta be kidding me, pal. You're missing the point, Detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. If he's a real killer, it's still Gant. it's him, dude. There's no one else. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. Alright, let's wrap this. Let's wrap this up. Court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Mr. Edgeworth, the inquiry committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions. Thank you for the news. Yes, well, normally this is where the prosecution calls for a witness, but this is easy to say. You see, there's some concern that you, Edgeworth, may have struck a bargain. You think I may have manipulated the witness? Don't say that. I didn't say that. It's just everyone's been talking, and I have a solution. In the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses. Wow. There's no precedent for what you are proposing. Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. Here, prove I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say? I say, let's do it. Let's go. The defense accepts. The defense may now call forth the next witness, Mr. Wright. You realize this is your last chance? You call the wrong witness. This trial is good as over. The defense called. Oh boy, uh-oh. Oh, the real murderer? Oh yeah, yo. Gant, get out of here. Get out of here, Gant. Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. If I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would have also have been the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor? I don't think anyone can manipulate that man. Psychopath. This man's wearing murderer gloves. What is this? Some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch. Your name and occupation, sir? Where are they? Are you sure you want to do this? Your name and occupation. So, you want to play hardball, eh? Please, Mr. Gant. Fine. My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police. Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony. Oh, righto. What's with the grim face? Let's clear up the SL9 incident. Oh, you mean the time when Lena's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already. There's some things I accounted for. After the role you played, son, either you're very brave or very foolish. You are aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Sure. Take my testimony, for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to. What? Is that true? I'm afraid so. The chief of police has the right to refuse to testify. Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you. The witness may now begin his testimony. Here we go. As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. The power outage didn't help either. I went to my office. I found Lana there. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Is that when Dark was arrested? When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Dark bumped his head. I see, everything seems pretty clear-cut. If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I'd better hit him hard and fast, ayo. SL9 incident.
Hold it!
As I recall, a ceremony was held at the police department that day. Yes, that's right. After winning his award, Neil was all fired up too. That was probably what spooked Dark and made him run away like that. Was the defendant Liner Sky also present? I don't remember. At the very least, she wasn't there when Dark ran for it. To make a long story short, we slipped up. So the two ran immediately after him, right? That's right. But Dark made it to the elevator first, so Neil and I split up. We went upstairs and went downstairs. I guess you could say he got lucky. The elevator stopped, all of a sudden I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as when Neil... Wow. When I went to my office, I found Lana. Could you tell us what you saw? It was a shocking sight. Neil and the serial killer were lying in a heap on the floor. Dark was also lying flat on the floor. Yes, apparently he hit his head when he was knocked out. Next to them were those two poor girls, Lana and Emma. Lana was cradling Emma. She must have already known what her sister had done. Apparently she'd already arranged the crime scene. What does that mean? Oh, like move the body. Yes. You shouldn't have sharp objects just sticking out like that. So you're saying that the forgery had already taken place by the time you arrived at your office. That's exactly what I'm saying. I can understand how Lana must have felt. Moving a body and hiding evidence are inexcusable no matter what the circumstances. That's how I really look now. Staring at the witness won't do you any good, Mr. Wright. Alright, here we go.
Objection!
There we go. Found that. You really had nothing to do with the forgery. So how do you explain this? What's that? What's that on it? A handprint? Chief Gant, your explanation, please? I don't know. You tell me, son. Huh? My dear Raito, don't you know the second rule of evidence law? It has to be relevant. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Tell me, how is that rag relevant to this trial? It appears the defense was not prepared. Okay, I'll do it once, but only because you asked, Uji. I assure you that the defense is terribly sorry. Ha ha ha. Well, that's not it.
Objection!
There we go. Evidence list. You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery, but I'm afraid this is a claim you cannot back up. Explain yourself. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this list, for example. This was discovered in your desk. Not only that, but this piece of this jar was also sitting in your desk. It's found inside your safe. You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you played a part in the illegal investigation. Chief Gant, what's the meaning of this? Oh, here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. I mean, I did beat him twice already, and we're going for a third right now. Why would I have anything to do with that? Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can also do so. Isn't that right, Raito?
Objection!
However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment. What? If Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work. Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office. The relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene. My. Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together. Evidence and forgery. What was that? A jar fragment and a list? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, when you can't prove when they were discovered. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Mr. Wright, when investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to follow protocol. Indeed, I believe I will press charges so you won't make the same mistake again. Today as well, you know. Right, Aji. In return, though... What? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. I'd appreciate it if you stopped making these ridiculous allegations. Yes, you do have a point. You would have the guts to do something like that. What? Back in the day, I once broke into a cattle ranch and said, Mr. Wright, what are you saying? If concealing evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery, if they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. You think this jar fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation? Maybe not, after all, it wasn't listed in the evidence list. For all we know, it could have suddenly materialized the day after Dark was sentenced. Wouldn't that be convenient, right? Chief was talking about a possibility, so long as you can't rule that out. There's no reason I participate in a forgery. How can you look me in the eye and say that? Because I'm innocent. Remember, who was it that murdered Neil? Not sure I care for the word murder here. And the person responsible for Mr. Marshall's unfortunate demise is Emma Sky. Well, now do you see? Rearranging the crime scene anyway. At the very least, there is one very large benefit you reap from all this. That would, of course, be the position you have, Chief of Police. The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive. Oh, that's a good one. You really think I'm that incompetent? What do you mean? Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of SL9 merely sped up the inevitable. He's going to be made chief anyway. Oh wow. There's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There. It's out in the open now. Oh gee, would you mind if I change my testimony a little? I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing there for me. The only person I care about is yours truly, that girl, Lana's little sister. If you think I felt sorry for her, you better think again. You're right, you don't feel sorry for anyone. You're tough on crime and tough on people, that's how I was raised. Oh-ho! But if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone. It appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. Who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence? Lana.
Take that!
Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye, the defendant? I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. For that reason, of course, is self-profit. After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Skye was appointed Chief Prosecutor at the Prosecutor's Office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant. How would he profit from all this? He would be able to use the Chief Prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations. Despite the Chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? Oh my... Disappointed. I'm disappointed in you, Judge. Oh, wait. You must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind. My bad. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive to appoint her as chief prosecutor so you can control her. Right, oh my boy, you have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. Do you have any proof of this? That I control Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture. Unless, there's also what happened in this incident. Of course, I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. It's almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt. Is that a threat? What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement. What? Order, order, order. I said order. Mr. Wright, you can't be serious. This is an affront to the highest-ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder. That's impossible. Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edwards said in an easier-to-understand language. Back. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. It will looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this. Can you prove that the chief, a high-ranking officer of law, is involved in this murder? The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell. Show us evidence that ties Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman, not that. Not that doesn't tie him to it. Ah! This? It's this, right?
Take that!
This ID card list. The one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There's one ID on the list you couldn't determine the owner of. 777777. There's no way you can... Why don't you just show us? It's your number. What? How do you know that? The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code. I'm afraid, Your Honor, the code was 77777. 7. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room. Ooh, he looks angry. You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. Order, order. Chief Gant, what do you have to say? The defense's search for my office was a violation of regulations, and I will demand Mr. Wright will be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation about the use of this ID card. Chief Gant, so you admitted you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime? What about it? I'm the chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom, what's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. You tell me. When you entered this room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't happen to be with you on that day, would he? Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days. You hadn't seen him in days, Chief Gant? I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman.
Objection!
The trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing: what transpired during the meeting. In that case, I'm going to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime. Oh, I know. I know that. Because this can only be submitted to the Chief of Police.
Take that!
Yeah. Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So, Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the Chief of Police. Yet you were in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure if he filed it. He filed it. How do I know? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. Yes, he transferred the evidence out. Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Hold on, let me guess what you're gonna say. I, the Chief of Police, murdered Goodman. Yeah, exactly. The Chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card. Yes.
Objection!
No. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. Whoa! Turned into a Pokemon. Chief Gant, you didn't. The murderer was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright. The victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day. Everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the Chief of Police. You have the entire police force at your disposal. Do you think I ordered an officer to do it? Hey, take this dead body over to the prosecutor's office? I don't think so. You left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved. Okay. It's a ticket, right?
Take that!
This is how I moved Detective Goodman's body. There we go. I was wondering when he would use that. You mean... I literally just said, right? Like, we haven't used that yet. The body was found in the trunk of Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car.
Objection!
You mean I carried the victim's body? Precisely so. But wait, even you know I didn't plan on returning to my office after the ceremony finished. But you did return. Tell me why. Ah! I was asked to go by Chief Gant. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. So you see, what you were really taking to the prosecutor's office wasn't the screwdriver, but the body. So Edgeworth didn't know. He didn't know that the body was in the trunk. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Lieutenant Scott. Order. What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations? Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. Not a photo of a body being stuffed in the trunk. It was her opening up the trunk. Being taken from the trunk. I believe your time's up. Sorry, Raito. I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're going to make it in time for the early bird special. Cross-examination isn't done yet. Remember what I told you earlier? Yeah, he can just leave. He can just go. Just go away.
Objection!
You gonna just run away after all this? Run away, don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman, that's what you're saying, right? What if you had any clues to evidence, you would have presented it by now. You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright, Your Honor? Proof? Do we have proof that Chief Gant murdered? I guess we don't have proof yet. See, OG? We don't have proof. What? Okay, OG, I'll leave the rest to you. He just left. I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in our nation's law enforcement.
Objection!
Oh. Maybe we should have a word with Lady Luck. There's one lady who knows the real truth. Yeah, Lana. We're gonna call Lana.
Take that!
Here we go. She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15. Her task was to dispose of the body in accordance with a certain someone's orders, aka Gant's orders. My shoulder still hurts. Final recess. In 15 minutes we reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. Hold on! Chief Gant, I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Lana. Uh-oh. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible Bro! Does that not sound at all suspicious to you? Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. He's holding that against her, man. Just something to think about. Alright then, I've got a lunch date to meet. If there aren't any further objections, the score is now in recess. February 25, District Court Lobby. Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, we're like working together. We stopped caring at this point. Detective Gumshoe, ha ha ha, I'm not a detective anymore. I've already decided where to work now. At your office. At my office. I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with. Oh, Maya. I miss you, Maya. Looks like we're all out of moves now. I mean, Emma's kind of like Maya, but a science-y version of Maya. Remember what the judge said? But Chief, that is not a right to be casually invoked. There have certain risks. Alright. What do you mean by risks? If the Chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. He forfeits his right to say anything too. Emma! When I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the galley. Sorry for what I said before. No, it was the truth. My sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man, but she did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way. What do you think I mean? To follow Chief Gant's orders. She must have shut herself up deep inside. It's all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall. Hey, don't go blaming yourself. I'm gonna blame anyone. Blame society, pal. He can't fool my Let me read this. But he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into the armor. There we go. It's time for the final act. It's time to end this. To be continued. Good, because we gotta stop this recording and start another one. Might just be the very last recording.